Welcome to my channel. Click on that little red button to subscribe to my channel to get the latest videos, and click on that little bell notification icon to be notified. Teachers and professors of Reddit, what's the best answer you've gotten on an exam that wasn't technically wrong? On a math paper with the question, Tom and Dave play a game with a 6-sided spinner. Tom spins the spinner 200 times. These are the results: 1, 30, 2, 32, 3, 59, 4, 31, 5, 28, 6, 20. Is this fair? He replied no, he didn't let Dave have a go. Early primary school biology test. What is the name of a male cow? Answer: Roos. Tutor, not a math teacher. I was working with a bright 7th grader on his take-home geometry work. One question asked for the perimeter of a diagram triangle, but only 2 sides of the triangle were labeled. He had no idea how to answer the question. It happened to be a right triangle, so I told him while I was absolutely positive it wasn't the method his teacher intended for him to use, I could show him a way to find the missing side. We spent half an hour on the Pythagorean theorem and he loved it. The next time I saw him, I asked him how he'd done. The teacher had given full marks, but it was bewildered that my student had used the algebraic theorem to solve a simple addition problem. They haven't even covered exponents yet. Apparently the class was supposed to find the length of the missing side of the triangle by literally measuring it with a ruler. The student and I agreed our way was better. Question: what changes could you implement to make the heating device more efficient at increasing the temperature of the water? Answer: heat the water during the day so the warmth from the sun also contributes to heating the water. English teacher in Japan. The students would have finished the sentence, "I can't stand." And someone wrote, "I can't stand on water." Year 4 maths. Last question on first page. Circle the odd numbers. Kid also circled the page number below the list of numbers. Extra points awarded. Chemistry test. Why shouldn't you smoke at a petrol station? You might get cancer. My friend is an English teacher. In the class, 16-year-olds had just finished reading Of Mice and Men. He poses this. The answer is curly. What is the question? He's looking for something like, who attacks Lenny? Or who is the boss's son? Anything where the answer is curly. One kid puts his hand up, brain working fiercely, and says, is it? Who is curly? I work with kids. Part of my job is best described as tutoring. And I work with 2 kids at once. One of the children had to write sentences on what he enjoys doing that does not involve electronics. I was trying to help him think of things to help him. Going for a walk, reading a book, playing ball, drawing, and so on. At one point I asked his partner, who is 5, if he had any ideas. He responded with, I like wearing a shirt. When my dad took general chemistry in college, the class was incredibly full, so his lab section ended up being taught in the humanities building across campus that didn't have things like emergency showers. The first day they got a lecture about lab safety and were assigned to write up what you would do if your classmate spilled acid on himself. My dad, being a smartass, instead wrote up what he would actually have to do. First, haul the screaming victim down to the campus bus stop. Wait calmly for the shuttle to the science squad. Try to quiet the victim so he does not alarm other passengers, etc. My physics teacher once showed me a few of his favorite answers. One time he had a test asking something like, you're a city planner in charge of designing roads. Concrete has a friction of 1 when dry and 0.5 when wet. Asphalt has a friction coefficient of 0.75 when dry and 0.6 when wet. What should you make roads out of? He was looking for asphalt because it's more dangerous when it's wet out, thus giving you better control in dangerous situations, or concrete because it's better when dry, and most of the time dry conditions are present. And some guy just wrote asphalt because it's cheaper. The reason he was showing me some of these is because on day 1, his first lesson was about what speed is relative. He held a tennis ball up and said, anyone who can guess how fast this is moving gets a candy bar or whatever. We all guessed 0 because it wasn't moving. He then explained to us that no matter what answer we gave, we were wrong, because to To an observer not on Earth, it's moving minus 500 miles per hour due to the rotation of Earth. Zoom out even further, it's even moving faster due to Earth's orbit, etc. So the first test, he asked us to show our work on a math problem. I added 500 miles per hour on every velocity, depending on it, if it was going east or west, thus vastly overcomplicating the problem but getting the right answer, and thus making a pain in the ass to grade. He said he'd even give me 100% if I could keep the exam, if I never did it again. My wife is a human biology teacher, and her favorite one was name a form of contraception, dildo. Not a teacher, but on a programming test in college, the question asked us to print a pattern like. Now, they want us to do was write a loop, but they didn't specify that. I was running out of time. Instead of writing out the proper code for it, I just wrote print statements for the last 5 times. Got full credit for it too. Had to take second year biomedicine uni exams while on chemo. I had a bad chest infection. The painkillers they gave me were awesome. I was high as a kite. I was doing human anatomy paper, and there was a question about digestion. I wrote a story about how someone ate some cake and its adventure through their body until it finally reached a crappy end. One question asked us to describe a cancer treatment and its effect on the body. So I went into great details about my last chemo session. The hour-long wait for treatment, the sick yellow of the word, how much I would vomit if they gave me the wrong anti-sickness tablet, the way the drugs were administered and how much it effing hurt my veins, how and why my wee would be red afterwards, how old people would talk at me, telling to me I shouldn't have cancer, during treatment at the ward. Somehow I knew all the drug names, what they did, and then went through the day by day of the 14-day side effects between the treatments and the long-term effects too. Ended off with something about chemo sucks, made your ass, and I'm bald now, would not repeat. Then I drew hedgehogs for the rest of the time. I have no idea what the person marking it must have thought, but it was the only exam I passed that week. Design exam in an engineering course. Kid had to analyze the hairdryer design, example, wattage, airflow, etc. Final part, what is wrong with this design? I think it was something like the elements are laid out totally the wrong angle and the efficiency is effed up. The best answer was it doesn't have enough power. It needs more power because more is more. The exam asked for a ray diagram. My classmate drew a labeled stingray. Student here, but on a hydrogeology exam, we had to write a short essay on why liquefaction is a problem. I put, because in general buildings are not designed to float. I got full credit. On an essay about the factors that led to World War I, I had one student that wrote that alliances were formed between nations so they could be douche canoes to each other without having to worry about being ganged up on. He wasn't wrong, but I had to mark him down a little for using casual language in a formal essay. Student teaching, I was finishing up with the World War II unit with a test. One of the final questions was about Japanese internment camps and asked if the Japanese Americans ever received reparation. If so, what were they? The answer in yes. In the late 80s, surviving victims received $20,000. While the students were taking their tests, one asked me, Mr. Kate, what are reparations? I was a little busy with other questions, so I said, like payback. The students nodded and started writing. Next week, I was grading these and got to his. For his answer, he wrote, the Japanese did receive reparations in the form of bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I laughed but realized this was mostly my fault and gave him partial credit and an explanation after class the next day. In an intro biolab quiz, I asked my students to define bilateral symmetry. One student simply drew an arrow and wrote C reverse. On the back of the quiz was an extremely ornate and intricate drawing of Chewbacca, 10 on 10 quality. Running down the middle of Chewbacca was a dotted line. Full points. In a class that was trying to teach future teachers how to write a test, we were given a test that was so poorly written that instead of answering the questions, I corrected and turned it. One of my proudest smartass moments where I played it off to the instructor as I thought this is what you wanted us to do with this. On a religious education exam, a student just put it is God's will on all the answers. Geology test. Is this a rock or a mineral? My answer, yes. Got full credit and didn't even realize I had misread the question until I got the test back. My dad told me a tale, probably not true, of a question I think on a physics test that asked, how can you find the height of a building using a barometer? The correct answer has something to do with measuring the pressure on top of the building and the bottom of the building, then doing some math to figure it out. The supposed student gave two answers. 1. Tie a rope around the barometer and hang it off on the building. Measure the ropes afterwards and you have the height of the building. 2. Go to the janitor and say, hey, I'll give you a nice barometer if you tell me the height of this building. Statistic test. You roll a die. What are the chances of a 1, 2, or 3 are rolled? I put it depends on how many sides the die has, and I put the percentage of 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20 sided dice. I got 0 points because too many incorrect answers. Dice only has 6 sides. I even petitioned and lost. F my school. My wife is an elementary school teacher and she actually has a Word document of her favorite answers to tests and homework questions. One that stands out the most was an answer to a homework question. The kids were practicing their 2 times table and the question said something along the line of, John lives in the house with his mom, dad, brother, and grandpa. How many total hands do the people in John's house have altogether? The answer they were looking for was 10, and they wanted the students to show 2 times 5 is 10. This young man instead wrote not enough information. We don't know if anyone in the family lost a hand. He wasn't wrong. My wife just wrote good thinking on his assignment and gave him full credit. The kid was bright and he knew his times table, so it wasn't an issue. He just wanted to think outside the box. Recent one. A 5th grader brought a reading quiz on a class novel to me with answers circled but no other word. I insisted to give some kind of rationale for the answers they used to this expectation, so I asked, where's your text evidence? The kid pointed out on the book and said, it's in there. Indignantly, I had to laugh because he wasn't really wrong. He didn't understand why it was funny. College level math. Probability. The question described a game of chance and the payoffs of each outcome. Then I asked, what is the fair price you would charge your friend to play this game? The student worked out carefully that the friend would win, on average $1.20 per game. So he wrote, therefore the fair price is I would charge my friend is $2 because I would want to make a profit. Not mine, but my mom's, who is a science teacher. She had written a response question on one theoretical way we would deal with a large amount of mosquitoes transmitting diseases to people, and she had a kid reply with, if we kill all the people, then the mosquitoes won't be able to transmit diseases to them.